Next problem asks what the arc distance is corresponding to pi over 15, or pi over 12, pi over 12 radian central angle on a circle of radius 40 centimeters. Now the quick answer to that is, on a circle of radius 40 centimeters, 1 radian corresponds to an arc distance equal to the radius. So for 1 radian, the arc distance would be 40 centimeters. So for pi over 12 radians, the arc distance would be pi over 12 times 40 centimeters. We need to understand this, and we need to really kind of internalize this, because the equations and the formulas that you would use to calculate these things are very confusing and very difficult to keep straight. Okay, so here we have a circle, kind of light, but you should be able to see it. It's a nice circle, so I don't want to mess with it. It's got a radius of 40 centimeters. Now we have a pi over 12 radian angle. How big is a pi over 12 radian angle? Well, we should understand that it's 2 pi radians around the circle, so that halfway around the circle is pi radians, and pi over 12 radians would be 1/12 of halfway around. Halfway around is 180 degrees if you like, and if you divide that by 12, you find that pi over 12 radians is 15 degrees. Even more appropriately, you can say that, well, if we divide this half circle arc into 12 pieces, well, if we take this 90-degree arc here, then that would be 6 pieces. Now we have to have 1/6 of the 90-degree arc. So maybe we divide it into thirds, and actually this is a little closer to a third than it is to a sixth of the 90 degrees, but we divide it into third, and then we can divide it into half of that. I've made it a little too fat. This is more like 20 degrees than 15, and maybe even more like 25, close to 30 degrees. It's not 30. Okay, so picture aside, this is an indication of what we might mean by pi over 12 radians. 40 centimeter arc distance corresponds to 1 radian. That's the definition of a radian. A radian is the angle such that the arc is equal to the radius. So our arc distance is pi over 12. Well, the arc distance of a pi over 12 radian angle corresponds to an arc distance of pi over 12 multiplied by 40 centimeters. Since a radian corresponds to 40 centimeters of arc distance, pi over 12 radians corresponds to pi over 12 times 40 centimeters of arc distance. And that's approximately 10.5 centimeters. This illustrates the convenience of the radian as a measure of angle. Knowing that a radian is an angle such that the distance along the arc is equal to the radius, every radian is equal to an arc distance equal to 1 radius. And we can then multiply the number of radians by the radius to get the distance along the arc, which is essentially what we've done here. We should understand that. We should understand how that is consistent with the definition of the radian.